most people in their day-to-day lives are leading a life whereby they look for people outside of them to support a thought or a feeling they have in themselves, or they look for assistance or guidance from people outside of themselves. And that's become very normal, or it's been a normal life thing. Teachers at
For
school, people they
millennia.
work with,
Yeah.
colleagues, family
Doctors,
members,
religious leaders.
parents,
Yep.
so
So many.
we've been brought into a system whereby we are not the authority, or we don't declare ourselves as an authority of our own lives. We're just drifting along, doing what's supposedly required of us in our day-to-day life. Go and get a job, go and rent a place, find a partner, all the normal day-to-day life stuff.
The American dream of the white picket fence, the house, the dog, that's success.
Yeah.
Having lots of money is success.
Yeah. And all that time, we're basically just getting by following those basic overview guidelines without knowing it. We're just being normal human beings. And what we lose touch with is that we're either looking for information and actually on a path to try and grow and be better, which is actually relatively rare, other than just going out and trying to work harder or do overtime or earn a better, get a better job, whatever it is.
Right.
Maybe improve your relationship somehow. If you depending on what level of earnings you are, you have a bit more capacity with more money to get assistance from, it might be a therapist or a different kind of therapy or something, or just go even join a gym and do some sort of physical stuff.
Take a pill.
Yeah. And all those kind of things. And then the other way that we try and deal with the fact that we are an unanswered question is we soothe, because we can't answer the question. So we take a pill.
Don't know where to go for the question to ask, or who to trust,
or we normalize the beers down the pub or down the bar or whatever it might be.
That's what you do. That's what
that's what everybody does. And you just suppress the fact that you really would like to progress your life. And again, that's normal. It's just normal behavior. So, and really, I mean, in all honesty, this for me, I mean, I'll relate it to my own story. I got to 35 years old, and it felt like there was a big something wasn't right. And I know, I knew something wasn't right with me in terms of my relationship to myself for a long time. But it was at that point I'd got the car, the house, the money, the motorbike, the two kids, and there was still this like darkness darkness and a void of, what is this it? Is this really it?
Is that right? Seriously.
And
this is what we go through this shit for?
Yeah. Is this really what my life's about? Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Work to get money and maybe do some fun stuff before I die.
And you start to,
if I'm lucky.
Yeah, and with children, in the story as well, you start to reflect on how you're impacting them, and I know from my own experience that having two children, although I felt in my body that I didn't want to be a parent, but I ended up being a parent. It happened anyway, and the children, when they arrived, it was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then there's the responsibility, and then there's the work you put in to look after them, nurture them, and do the best you can do. But again, you end up soothing. I used to drink quite a bit to kind of try and get my own downtime from the stress of work and the stress of running and helping run the family and pay all the bills and all these kind of things. But ultimately, that what it comes down to is you end up, well, I certainly did, and I think this is the way it goes for most people. You get to a point, if you're really contemplating your life, where you feel like you're not necessarily stuck, but you don't know how to progress, really. You feel like you hit a dead end in some ways, and it's just like you're a bit lost in your own life.
There's more, you can do more, something's possible, but you just don't know how to get there.
Yeah. And I think I mean, I'm saying quite a lot here, but one of the things I know what was missing for me was a real connection to, if you like, my masculine half of me. So I didn't feel particularly comfortable to have that many male friends when I was growing up, or I had individual friends where I sort of latched onto when I was at school. But then I was involved in sports, but I never really felt connected to men's nurturing energy, if that makes any sense. I know it does to us, but it might sound a bit alien or a bit weird to you guys out there, maybe. But what that led me to see in myself or about myself was that there was like a missing link in relating to being a man for me, which goes back to what I just said just before we came on air, whereby, you know, a vast majority of human beings in the world right now are effectively little children, little babies wandering around, and I'm talking about adults here, just looking for an umbilical cord, somewhere to plug it into. And what that means is we're all looking for leadership. And so we're looking for a leader who can give us the answers we desire to assist us to get to a better way of relating to ourselves and our life, and be led on in some way to be our best version of ourselves, or to improve, you know, get a better job, be a happier father, you know, be a better father, whatever it might be, a better husband, whatever it might be for us. And really that comes back down to where you were talking about, and you often relate to this as well, Yvonne, because you've been on a massive journey of meeting hundreds of people, and hundreds of specialists who really, thousands, and you know, knowing who to trust, or rather who to allow you, who you feel comfortable leading you, and actually finding somebody who will lead you in a way that is really conducive to being your best self, not them getting stuff from you to make them happier. You're looking for a leader you can trust, and really who's really on the journey for you to be your best self. That's not necessarily the guru who charges $20,000 for a one night sort of meeting. That's not necessarily you know, the person who's earning billions of pounds or dollars or whatever it might be. It's not the doctor, it's not the you know, it's not the guy, the kind of mentally charismatic.
The idea that we've been told of what success and wealth and abundance and stuff is.
It doesn't have to be that person. What you're really, I'm not saying what you're really looking for, but one can find the wisdom in the man sitting on the street asking for change. You can find the wisdom in a bus driver. You can find the wisdom in the strangest of places. And often the most wisdom you'll get around that is their aura will be just, they are completely solid and completely peaceful in who they are. And you'll get that when they communicate with you. There's no agenda. There'll be no moodiness. There'll just be a really direct connection, and their words will be simple and like sweet wine in a good way, that you just go, oh my God. And it will just go ping, and that doesn't cost a penny or a dime. And often we're not open to seeing it because out in the world there's a lot of connection to the fact that money has to be a part of it, or wealth has to be something to do with it, or the guy with a fast car is bound to be more intellectual and more able to assist me,
or the prettier ones, or the more educated ones, you know.
So
that's really good.
I'll let you take over, Yvonne, because I think I've said quite enough there for a while.
that was all brilliant. That was really, and really that actually touches on a really, I feel, especially these days, a big topic about this masculinity stuff, this toxic masculinity and things that people talk about, and is such a big thing right now. And again, going back to what Simon said about everybody's really adult children running around trying to find where they feel they can connect to, who they can connect to, who they can trust, who they can go to for advice. And so are most people getting these ideas from?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you believing? Who are you trusting?
Yeah.
You know, and why are you trusting them? Are we looking for the truth, or are we looking for confirmation of what we want to be true?
That's it. Is it all preconceived within us? And are we just looking for that? Because that confirmation is often where we are looking. As if we're asleep,
Yep.
if we're not perceiving, you know, the choosing ability to choose. If we're just looking, it's that reticular activating system, isn't it? Like you were saying earlier, just before we came online as well, that our reticular activating system really is a confirmation bias system. So if we're looking for swear words on the TV, we'll see them everywhere. If we or we'll maybe even switch to channels where we can make them happen. You know, that's a very weird, simplistic way of looking at it, but it's but yeah, we'll notice those things without really. It's like switching on a radar system for a particular thing, and we automatically generate those outcomes for ourselves. And that simple analogy, which is the car, you know, you go on.
Yeah, when I was pregnant, I saw tons of pregnant people. You know, women, people, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like you know, that all of a sudden it was like, man, is there at the time I didn't understand this stuff. And I was like, is there a sudden surge of like pregnancies? But no, it was because that was what was happening with me. And so my focus was on pregnancy, and therefore it showed up.
Yeah.
And that's why our choices are and our impact our focus. And what we are focused on is what we are attracting into our experience, how we're feeling about what we are focused on.
Yeah.
Was the biggest one. And that is why our emotions and the toxic masculinity is that men are tough and, you know, but they're the macho ones and they have to be stoic and not show emotion because they're in charge, and emotions weakness and all this crap that's turned to the one, you know, you have the balance of the masculine and feminine. Well, the masculine, the power, the control, you know, this force that has been ruling for who knows how long, and then it's missed out. And because of the way we've been taught, depending on what culture we grew up in, you know, man is the head of the house, the man does this, man, and it's really gotten out of balance with the feminine aspect of us all. Which is more the nurturing, the emotion, the intuitive, the creative, the fun side. That not so much logic, right? The more fun and creative side expression has been left out. And it's thrown a lot of people out of balance and not even knowing how to balance. And so you have that suppressed emotion, which is why a lot of people don't know what to do. Because it's emotions that you're taught to take a pill or just dismiss them. Or
that's the story of the men's mental health in the UK. Is this, you know, you're a man, stand up, you know, just do the mature man thing, and trying to grow up too early and all those kind of things. They're all, you know, wanting peer pressure of, you know, being manly at like 10 years old, which is really what is out there. It may even be younger than that, you know,
and then the peer pressure on top of it. You're right.
And that is literally the story of men's mental health over here in the UK for sure, because you're completely right. For sure. And it happens for women as well, I'm sure, in the opposite, you know,
it's an imbalance in general, really, with people in that sense.
And I think one of the telling things, just from a cultural thing over here in the UK, is that, you know, I've always been aware that, you know, the girls go out and they have, well, girls, I mean women, but girls as well at school, you know, that was the same. They have this thing whereby they'll happily stand around in a group just chit-chatting away, completely open and laughing and joking. Yes, there's
Right.
probably some bitchiness in there a little bit now and again, and you know, one of the girls might not fit in particularly well, but they're very open and communicative, whereas guys are basically just stood there looking good and being tough and saying like arguably stoic kind of phrases, but really they're just like trying to look tough and be tough and just hide all of that softer side. And that's such a real and I'm sure it's the same in the States to some
Oh yeah.
degree. And I think
Oh
it
yeah.
has changed over the years. I think it's a little bit
Depends on
less
the
so.
generation, really,
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
I think what era you grew up in has an impact on that for sure. Because I mean, obviously, look at the generation now. I mean, even my
yeah,
13-year-old, my
yeah, yeah,
cousin's son is like talking about how this stuff. He's like,
yeah.
kids now are not like kids back then. I was like, that's for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah. But I still
Uh,
think even if it's less prevalent, I think in the I think very likely in say not the US and not the UK, but some poorer countries where I'm not saying education is any
India is
worse.
not that way. Like the
Yeah,
Hindu, the Eastern, that culture, and obviously in other areas it is a big thing, but in like Hinduism that I know of, and Buddhism and things like that, there is more of that balance
balance. Yeah, yeah,
taught.
yeah. I can.
And
Yeah.
they don't necessarily phrase it as masculine, feminine,
No, no.
and
Yeah,
it just talks about how to be as a person. And
yeah,
even Jesus, I mean, if people want to talk about Christianity and whatever, because that's what a majority of the countries that you and I are in,
yeah,
are majority Christian. Well, even Jesus, what he washed the feet of the apostles and talked to women and strangers and ordinary everyday people, you know what I mean, and
yeah,
listened
yeah,
to them.
yeah, yeah.
And so it really, to me, boils down to the level of humility.
Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It really
yeah,
boils down to the level of humility that we have, that we are willing to admit that there is a better way that we may be unaware of.
yeah, yeah,
I know it opened. I mean, holy crap! I was there. We were there. I
yeah,
used to. I didn't listen to me. I already knew. I already got it. Blah blah blah. Didn't even
yeah,
realize I was doing that.
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
um, and it goes back to that when people are so consumed with stress, it's like they don't have the bandwidth to listen or take in any more info. At least that's how they feel.
yeah.
They feel like I can't take it, I can't listen right now, I can't talk about, I can't, I'm too busy surviving and dealing with life and whatever to be open to listening.
The myth of busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, we've
uh,
literally been working harder
yeah,
and not smarter, people. Okay.
yeah. Then
You can
that
really work smarter and
yeah.
not harder in a big way.
Really, the myth of busy is really all about the normalization of high level stress, so that you feel
Yep.
busy.
Not only that,
Yeah,
it's a distraction.
it's a
It's like an
distraction from
unconscious
moving. Yeah,
distraction of like, I don't want to
yeah,
look at anything. I want to ignore it.
yeah.
I don't want to have to face anything. So it's really
I know my
unconsciously like
life. Leave me
avoidance.
alone. Is this bad?
Right. Right. Well, yeah, you've experienced this or that, but it's not the same. It's not like what I'm going through is so much different than what
Yeah,
you went
it's
through.
that phrase again. You don't understand me.
Right. Right. Or I didn't have a choice or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. And it shuts us off from listening to, like you said, ev- just just people around us that are showing they love us,
yeah.
that are really. Now, does it mean that we believe, just automatically believe what they say? Because of course a lot of well-intentioned people are sharing things that
Mm,
they believe to be true
mm.
for them or the right way. It's more just being open to listening and seeing if it resonates with you.
Mm.
But how are you going to do that if your feelings are shut down and suppressed and you're seeing through the lens of stress and trauma?
Yeah, I think what I'd like to say here is that, and very well said, madam, is that yeah, what we the concept of choice, which we talked about on the previous video, and then the discussion today, really seeing where in regular normal life we're on almost like on a treadmill of normality that's become normal, and it feels like
hell.
until we see and until we can see we have a choice, we're going to be stuck. We're going to be stuck on some level.
Yep.
And you may not
hell,
relate.
Literally, that's the eternal hell right there.
Yeah, and you may not really relate to that, but once you can see a little slither of light of an opportunity to choose something in a different way, well, then you can start to implement that in different ways in different parts of your life, and then the word I'm going to use is you have a smorgasbord, a wide buffet selection of different things to try out. And it brings me back to the idea that my life and the way I relate to your life and everybody else's life is really we're in a process. So we're never done. We're never cooked. We're never finished. So which means we're on a creative process of trying things out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, seeing what works a little bit, or maybe I'll do that a different way next time. But it means you can start to make choices and play with different parts of your life, which is why we are not always smiling, but we're here having fun talking about this stuff, because we know for ourselves that at any given point we can just go, oh, why do I feel like that? And then choose something else.
Yeah.
Or why
it gets that easy.
Yeah.
And it is a process. I mean, when we first started, it was
a
lot
hard.
of crying.
It was hard.
Well, okay, so choose your hard, right?
Absolutely,
it's hard
choose
to
your
stay
hard.
the same and stay in those stuck cycles and the hamster wheel of hell.
Yeah.
When you can literally be running down a tunnel of like, oh, I'm learning this and I can keep moving forward. And and now I know why that showed up. And look at your life and your journey as the reader of the story versus the character in the story.
Yeah.
And then you see how you're like a video game, even, what I did to, like keep from stressing out about situations or whatever. You ever play video games and like you have the different view, you have the character view and then you have the player view.
Yeah.
And so when your character view, it's hard. You get stuck in a corner of somewhere, you're trying not to get shot behind you. But you can't see like where you're at or get to the door. But when you're looking at it from the player view, that's you got to go around here. And then it's so much faster and easier to get around obstacles.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar way with our life.
Yeah. And it's interesting. That's a very good example, actually, of when you're in the character view. And I've not played one of these kind of games like what is it, Halo or something like that. No. I'd love to play them. My problem is I don't have a console, because if I did, you wouldn't see me very often.
Right.
I literally, I just get so engrossed in them. I have to finish the whole saga by 3 a.m. tomorrow or whatever.
Time and attention is valuable, people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm very conscious I could have bought another console and another console and done whatever. But anyway, what I was trying to say was that what I am saying is that when you're in that character mode, just playing the game, you're in the drama. You only have a narrow view of focus, and you only have a particular way of dealing with what you can deal with, which is shoot your gun, turn, look around,
and look at your perception,
and make choices which are very limited, because you're literally in a fight or flight mode in the game. Whereas from above, you can see that you are in an environment. You can see that, I have choices. You can see that the different kinds of options and changes and choices you can make. You're still in the game, right? But you have a broader outlook and view, and that's bang on in terms of how one can relate to how we relate to our life right now. If we ever feel like we're actually in the character of it, we've got attached temporarily, and we pull back and go, when you get like, and that usually happens when you get a feeling. So if something feels off, so you jump out to that broad view and you go, okay, well, what else can I do here to change the nature of the feeling so that when I drop back into my character again, as and when I do, I have a different way of dealing with what's going on. And it's very similar. You basically go, okay, you just have a word with yourself in your head.
You reflect, you're reflecting, yeah.
And you immediately go, and what the very, and we've not talked about breath very much yet, but we will be doing a lot at some point. But one of the ways, you know, imagine you're in a scenario where you're in traffic, you're going to work tomorrow morning, you're in traffic, and you're just in your own world, driving your car, whatever you might be doing, on the train or whatever, and somebody say you're in the car, somebody interjects, starts toting the horn, and you go tighten up, and you don't know what, you start to notice yourself tighten up and get anxious or angry or upset. And that's when Yvonne and I would, ideally, in an ideal world when we're fully aware, is just go, oh, I'm feeling like I really want to do this to that guy, but I'm not going to do that. and you can go, okay, I'm kind of, okay, what shall I do? And you actually literally choose, despite the fact you can feel the feelings. And this is when you've got used to practicing this.
Right.
But you can step out of...
Which is what we're going to show everybody, too.
Yeah, which is what be a normal reaction would be somebody you'd swear out the window, or you'd kind of just slam your brake. Do you do something kind of theoretically kind of a little bit aggressive, shall we say, in some way? Yeah. You'd have a little mini tantrum. Whereas I know for myself, I literally go cooler. I go, oh, I'll take a breath. I go, oh, that guy's irritated at me. I wonder why he's here. And literally just be calm and create calm and serenity in what most people would be. It's a superpower. Doing that is a superpower. Because guess what? You're not wasting your energy getting stressed over the situation. You're showing a completely different way of being a human being to the other person in the car or whatever it might be. And you can be civil about whatever's going on. You don't have to be what most people would normally be, or the way people would be on the TV, or the way your friend down the road would always be tooting and honking and shouting and swearing and, you know, doing whatever.
It's exhausting.
Yeah,
it's exhausting. I lived that way for decades, and you know, because I was in unconscious patterns, and I wasn't aware of so much of what I was doing to myself to create it. How much the way I was thinking was affecting how I was feeling, which was affecting how I interacted with myself and others, and it was just exhausting.
And that's the thing.
Little did I know. And so, again, going back to the emotions, that's our creative power. That is our ability to take, because emotion, energy in motion, when you break down the word emotion, your energy in motion, that is the driving force of what's going out and placing the order that you're placing, consciously or unconsciously, to come back into your experiences and create that same feeling.
What we reap, we sow, and all that, isn't it? Basically, So,
if you want to go to that, or universal law of cause and effect. You can cause the effect, or you can be the effect of the cause.
So I think we're getting to the point where we can round this call up, and I've got one or two things, because I think I know where we should go on the next one.
Okay, go right ahead.
And this is one thing that we talked about yesterday. It's another word. So what we're describing is the state of being awake. So that's going to be what we're talking about in the next call. So when you're awake, or if you want to use the technical term, woke. Hey, you dude, are you woke?
A lot of people claiming to be woke.
Yeah, and a lot of people are claiming it's a big sort of, you know, Urban Dictionary kind of statement, whatever. But what we're talking about is being another way of looking at it for me. One or two books I've read relate to it this way, is really when you're on autopilot, or when you're on the mouse wheel of normal life, and you're not awake in the way that we're describing. Because what we're saying is, when something happens and you feel something, you're aware of it, and that's your awakeness. You're aware you're feeling a particular way, and that you automatically would normally go swear at that person in traffic. We're saying, I'm awake enough to recognize that and choose and use the choice that I have to be a different way about the same circumstances, which changes life completely. So that's what awake is in my world. But also, I'd call it being a true human adult man or woman. Okay. And what you are when you're in the mouse world is you're effectively a child adult, because you've not really mastered how to be a grown up. You're just a reactionary individual. You're just reacting to the circumstances and the feelings all of the time. And you don't really know that there's another option, which means you don't have that maturity to make choices because you don't have that facility yet. I think that makes sense.
That does. Yeah, that's great. Exactly. That is it. And
yeah,
go ahead.
So that's just another way of relating to it. So one of the next recordings we'll do, which will be out in the next week or so, we'll be looking into a bit more clarity on what being awake is, or being woke. What we believe it is anyway. Many people might relate to it in slightly different ways. I think often it's related to what we're talking about here, but the way we can talk about being awake, or being somebody who lives in choice, who lives at the creative
self-mastery,
self-mastery, and creates the words and the language and the framework within our mental state to have our life show up the way we want it to show up, and take the actions we require to get what we choose to create done, which is why we're here talking to you, because we honestly believe we want everybody to be at this level, to be self-masters and be able to really create whatever they choose.
Because when we shift ourselves, we are shifting it for the whole, because what is happening internally within us is being reflected externally in the world. And if we want the world to change and be a better place to live, that we complain about, wanting things to be better, we can do something about that. We are powerful creators already, and we're creating either way. So we're here to help share how, essentially the why, the how, the what, and answer questions and things. So please like and subscribe, support us, and share this with people, because that's why, we give AF. This is why we're here. We have no expectation of anybody to believe us, listen to us, whatever. We just simply want to get the information out there. And should you choose to ask questions or want our assistance in anything, then we're happy to help. But
absolutely.
That's an important thing to realize as you move forward to whether to trust someone or not. Is there an agenda?
Absolutely.
So
we'll our agenda is just for everybody to be able to create for themselves and understand and make choices that really align with what they want to see in the world, rather be
and
that oppressed, victimized.
And feel how amazing it can be and how fun it can be, and be a support system for those that really are unsure how to or who to trust. So that's why we're here to answer questions as well. So thank you,
next time, guys. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you.